Can you hear me? Great. Awesome. Well, thank you for inviting me, a representative of Davey Resource Group, to speak before this large audience to hear about how Canopy has changed in the city of Asheville over 10 years. I want to thank the Urban Forestry Commission, the city of Asheville, and especially Chad for working with us. And see, now I'm blushing and I forgot where I'm at. The mayor, the city councils for actually selecting our company to do this work. So I'm honored to be here and thank you very much. Oops. So what I want to talk about today, I am going to do this, is how our company assessed Urban Tree Canopy and the results of that study. So first off, what is Urban Tree Canopy? Urban Tree Canopy is that layer of tree cover that you see from looking down from above. So if you're flying over Asheville in an airplane and you look down, the Urban Tree Canopy cover is that area of ground covered by the leaves, the branches, the stems of a tree. To do the assessment, analysts use tools such as GIS and aerial imagery to digitize and map that urban tree canopy. They also use that information to run several assessments on that data to quantify the spatial extent of it. Where is that canopy? And also the benefits that it provides, as well as any changes that can be noticed over periods of time. For this study, we looked at baseline data from 2008, as well as data from 2018. In the report, we reported on absolute change as well as relative change. Most of the findings we'll talk about today is relative change, which is using the 2008 data as a baseline. Well, if you look at the figure on the top, that is an aerial imagery, and you can see a golf course on the right side. I'm a bit dyslexic. That's an actual aerial imagery. At the bottom, when the analyst actually maps out the urban tree canopy, it appears in the dark green. So we digitize that, map it, and then run statistics on it. So why would you do this? Good question. Anybody know? Heat island? Anything else? What are trees good for? Oxygen. Clean air, stormwater. There we go. So why would you do this? Well, number one, number 4 on my slide, sounds like it should be number 1, is to quantify those economic, environmental, and social benefits that trees provide to your community. Another reason to do it is just to understand where the heck the tree canopy is. Where is it? Where was it? Where is it now? There's a lot of changes through development and growth that can be mapped. Also for a baseline, which this study, as I mentioned, provided a good baseline for the city of Asheville moving forward, for all these great neighborhoods, the emerging neighborhoods, for city council, for the future city council members to try to figure out, how can we manage our equity, manage our benefits for the long haul. And then also, again, setting goals and actually, reviewing the effectiveness of policies in place. Let's see if we're making a stride towards our comprehensive plan. So right now, because tree benefits are important, I'm just going to read a few of them. We're going to watch the clock. And we know we're important because the audience said they were. And I know they are. So in terms of local climate and energy, trees influence thermal comfort, energy use, and air quality by providing shade, transpiring moisture, reducing wind speed. So the establishment of 100 million mature trees in residences throughout the United States saves about $2 billion annually in reduced energy costs. They improve air quality. Urban trees in the United States remove some 784,000 tons of pollution annually. They also affect climate change by directly storing carbon within their tissue and reducing the carbon emissions from power plants. It's estimated that the trees in the United States currently store 707 million tons of carbon. That's estimated at $14.3 billion. That's in the savings of constructing factories. Trees also improve soil and water quality and reduce the need for costly stormwater treatment. I know here in Asheville, with some of the storms that have come through, you've had terrible flooding. So urban tree canopy cover can help reduce that runoff. In an intense storm in Dayton, Ohio, it was estimated that urban tree canopy there reduced runoff by 7%. It's quite a bit. Real estate, it's important. Real estate and business. Landscaping in trees, yards, and parks and greenways, along streets and in your shopping centers increase the property values as well as the commercial benefits. A study in Seattle showed that goods were valued 11% higher in areas that had landscaped areas with trees. So that's quite a benefit to your business owners. And finally, trees help you feel better, your well-being and public health. The presence of urban trees and forests can make urban environments more aesthetically pleasing, pleasant, and emotionally satisfying to live, work, and spend leisure time in. The health benefits are well documented in the literature. The tree shade reduces the ultraviolet radiation and its associated health problems, as well as for those patients that are in hospitals, a view of vegetation has been shown to reduce their length of stay. And then furthermore, trees are just a strong sense of community. You guys love your trees? Yes. Strong sense of community. They give you empowerment and want you to improve your neighborhood conditions. So through this study, Asheville has taken a really hard look at how they have changed and how that change has affected their urban forest canopy. So let's talk about the results. And as I present these results, I want to note that our company was tasked with just doing the assessment. We weren't asked why. You need to wonder why. Why was there this change? So if we look at this slide, is going to show the absolute change in tree canopy cover as well as the relative change from 2008 to 2018. So absolute canopy change was 3%. Relative canopy change over 10 years was 6.4%. And so what does that mean? That means you've lost approximately 675 football fields worth of tree cover in 10 years. That's in acres. So that relative change is what we're looking at. You've had 44.5%. If you look at it in acres, you've lost 6.4% of canopy change, or 675 football fields. So what does that mean? Well, that means more pollution. It means there's more carbon in the atmosphere. It means there's more polluted runoff. This slide to me is particularly important, as you can see that 17 million gallons of stormwater runoff was on your streets because of the loss of 6.4% of tree canopy, or 890 acres. So why does this matter? Anybody want to field that question? It's harder to breathe. There's more flooding. The water quality is more impaired because of the loss of tree canopy. So where did this change occur? And again, ask yourself why. We don't know the answer to that. Just reporting on the change. So this figure is citywide parcel based, and I want you to focus in on the areas that are red. Those are areas that show where canopy was in 2008, and it's not there today. The areas in light green have stayed the same, pretty much. And actually the good news, some areas in Asheville have grown in canopy. This is not a completely negative Nancy story. We've had some areas that have grown in canopy as well as decreased in canopy. But overall, we are seeing a trend. The city also tasked us to look at this at the neighborhood level. From my analysis of the data, the neighborhoods in Asheville, the ones that have names, and I apologize for not having a better term for that. There's about 6,000 acres of land in Asheville that are in neighborhoods. And of those, I'm sorry, got ahead, about 11,600 acres of neighborhoods in Asheville. And that land has about 6,000 acres of tree canopy coverage. And over that 10-year period, if you look at the net gains and the net loss, it's only 63 acres. It's not a big change. It's about a 1% change at the neighborhood level. So when I looked at that, I said, well, you know, 40% of Asheville's land are neighborhoods. And if I take 63 as a percentage of 890, that 40% of the land accounted for 70% in Asheville, or Asheville's loss. However, and I don't want you to read the neighborhood names up here, we're not calling out anybody, but I just want you to look at the trends. There are neighborhoods that had substantial gains in canopy, if you look at the top graph, and there are neighborhoods that had substantial losses in canopy. Why? I don't know. But there are neighborhoods that have managed to maintain, grow out, or plant trees, while other neighborhoods have not had that success. Why? We don't know. This is just another look at that point I'm trying to make. So on the left, you can see the neighborhoods that are formally named. And on this side, on the right, I suppose, if you look outside of these neighborhood bounds, you can see in red areas in these developing neighborhoods that have lost tree canopy. Looking at the numbers, they are significantly losing more canopy than the formed neighborhoods. I think that's the point of neighborhoods, you know, bonding together, looking out for one another. Let's start looking out for these areas that are forming. We were also looking at canopy by Census Tract, and on, gosh, this is my right, on the right, we can see the canopy change by Census Tract. The census tracts that gain the most canopy are in blue, and those that lost the most canopy are in green. And on this side, you can see the census data from 2016. This is showing areas below poverty level. The lighter the color of green, they're below poverty level, and these are above. So you can see a correlation between areas that are rapidly losing trees versus those that are more of your underserved neighborhoods for the census block data. So then the question is, you know, can we plant more trees? And I think by looking at the data, we can see that areas have been successful in planting more trees. By looking at only the neighborhood level graphic that we have, you certainly have areas that have grown their canopy cover by up to 20% in the 10-year period, which is quite remarkable. Also, with the models that are available today through iTree, the modeling shows that there is available space to plant more trees. And the modeling shows that in your urban core areas and in your lower income areas, there is available space and a need to plant trees. So what about saving trees? A lot of cities talk about planting trees, Million Tree Initiative. Mature trees provide a lot of benefits, and maintaining and saving a mature tree, keeping it healthy, I think is very important. I think it's almost as important as planting a tree, is trying to save some of your mature trees, because they provide more benefits. This is a graphic that shows parcel level details.
Could you give us an idea where downtown is?
This is a screen capture of the downtown area. Sorry. Here? Am I missing it?
Top right area.
Chad, help me.
Get to the top right area.
Here? What area is this? This is. So we're looking right here.
That's downtown.
That's that one. Well, let me back up. Maybe it wasn't downtown. But look at it as parcel level of this area of town, which is one of the reasons we're revising the report. You can see that in the darker blue areas, we've had 100% change in tree canopy cover. And if it goes to a lighter area, there's an increase of tree canopy cover. So these results, again, you have to ask why. It could be a parcel that had no trees and they planted one to show that 100% change. It could be a parcel that had one tree and cut it down to show 100% change. So I think to really understand where change is happening and why it's happening at this parcel level and through your neighborhoods and those areas that aren't named neighborhoods, we need to do more assessments and really understand why you're having the tree canopy change. So in summary, over the 10 years, the findings was that the relative change in your tree canopy cover was 6.4%. If you looked at the value that the pollution and the runoff, or actually not the value, but the cost of the pollution and the runoff is about $14 million, and that's in expenses to build stormwater mitigation ponds, to mitigate for air quality and pollution. So the cost to the city, because of the loss of tree canopy, is about $14 million. And then while I think some of your neighborhoods have showed a wide variety of change, you have to ask why. We do see that low-income areas are generally losing more canopy. And that's the story for the last 10 years. Yeah, we should clap. Don't move.